Okay, so now I'm going to start to shape the body of this lizard, and I have it clamped flat to the bench. That's how I'm going to work on it for now. And I'm using one of these wood screw clamps that actually a friend of mine just cleaned out his garage and gave me 4 of them. It was a nice little gift. And I like it because it's wood, so it doesn't mar the wood. But once I get some of this carved off, I'm going to have some problems. I won't be able to use that. But for now, it's good. I'm pretty secure on the bench. Now I have a couple tools I picked out. I have a couple of the Denny tools. Here's a number 7. That's about a 5/8 sweep. And I have a number 5, 1-inch. And then I have some longer handled mallet tools. I have this 1-inch skew, which I may or may not use. It's flat, so I don't know if I'll use that on here. But I have this, looks to be about a 1-inch, number 3 sweep. And I have something a little deeper. That's probably a 5, or let's see, compared to the other 5. Nope, it's more like a 7. Yep, it's a 7. So this is a 3/4 number 7. And I have the Stanley knife here. And the Stanley knife I'm using to give myself cut along the body here on either side, just score down in. Okay, that's the best way to do that. Because what I have to do now is I have to get the vertical planes of these different parts. So I have to get all these legs down to at least about half their height, so that I have the body separate. And then on this spine, I'm going to want to go on either side of that with probably the number 7. I may actually go with even a smaller one and kind of scoop it out on either side so that this remains a ridge here. Okay, so what I'll do is I've scored along here, and now I'm going to take probably this number 5, and I'm going to come in to meet that. And I have to tell you, on a project like this, where you have a curve going against a straight grain, you're constantly changing. So in about here, I'm going to have to carve this way. This side, I'm going to have to carve this way. Here, I'll carve this way. I got to be careful in this corner. Here, I have to carve this way. In this corner, the grain is still going this way, so I'm actually still carving in this direction all along here. Here it's going to change. I'm going to be going this way here, and I have to really watch what I'm doing on the legs too. But for now, I'm kind of cutting across the grain, and this is pine, so it's real soft. It wants to just crumble as much as it wants to be cut. So, and then when I'm going across the grain here, really have to watch how much force I do so I don't break this off. Right now I got over 1 inch of thickness, so I'm okay. But when I get down to the final thickness of this, which is going to be probably, maybe 3/8, ½ inch, I don't know. See there, it wants to break right there, so I got it right here. I have to be careful. It wants to tear out. So as soon as you hear it starting to chip and tear on you, then you got to remember to go the other way. So this is kind of messy. When I get closer to the finished shape, I'm going to have to really think about how I want to do this. I'm probably going to have to switch to knives, and very sharp ones. And I might get frustrated and switch over to files and sandpaper. I don't know. I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to make kind of what we call a stylized carving. And that's going to mean I'm not going to carve every little detail. The original picture that I showed you had all kinds of scales carved in it and everything, so it looked kind of like a real, I don't know, maybe an iguana climbing on a stick there. So this one's going to be, because of the wood I'm using, I'm going to do more stylized. So it means I'm going to do smooth surfaces, and I'm going to sand it. So I'm not big on sanding. I like carving just the tool marks, but I think I'm going to sand this one. So we'll talk a little bit about files and sanding methods, and not that that's rocket science, but show you what I do anyway. And then so right now all we're doing is we're trying to get this this part of it, this is carving pretty nicely here anyway. I wish the other leg was cooperative. So that's it. I'm going to continue taking all of these legs down to a lower plane. Now the head, I still have to decide if I want to have it just kind of all in the same plane as the body, or do I want to have him with his head up a little bit, sticking up. I might actually do that. I might leave this and take some off the bottom so that his head down to partway of his neck is up off, and that'll make a little shadow there. So, alright, so I think also what I'll be doing too is once I get the leg carved down to where I want it, I'll be rounding this over as well, like this. I can work with a knife on that, but like I say, the grain is not very forgiving on this. This is going to take a lot of work to really get this done. Like I say, I might just switch over to files at some point doing that. Anyway, there's where we're at for now. Alright, well, as I said, this is a very tricky project in terms of the grain I have to deal with and the nature of pine for carving. So I'm not, a purist in any way in terms of carving. I enjoy carving with hand tools, knives and gouges, and mostly because I can do it inside and I can control. It's just some chips. It's quiet. I don't disturb everyone in the house. But when I rough out, I hate roughing out, so I will do anything I can to move that process along effectively and fast. I bought some of these tools mainly for the drill press, for cleaning up curves and so forth. None of them are very high quality, but they do remove wood. So here's a cylinder one. Here's one that's a smaller version of that. This one is more of a rasp. It's good for intermediate cleaning up. And then here's one that's kind of interesting. It's got an interesting shape, ball, sort of a elliptical shape, and then also convex and concave. And this is actually a trim router, which I have because I used to do a lot of Formica work. So I thought, what if I stick one of those bits in there? I might be able to use this to hog off some of this wood, and it actually works pretty good. So, and then in conjunction with that, I highly recommend some sort of a. Oops, where's my thing? This is a speed control I have for my router. So I have this turned down to 3 on variable, so it helps me kind of control the speed on this thing. And it's pretty rough, and when I hit going against the grain, it pretty much tears it up. But it's allowing me to get down to where I want to go, and especially on this spine. This tool works perfectly in here. I'm going to turn this on, and I'll turn the volume down a little bit on the video because it's no fun to listen to this. But I have goggles on, I have hearing protection, all that stuff's really important. But this thing works great for doing this little, for outlining the spine that I want to have on there. So I'll just show you a little bit what I'm doing here. So you can see it helped me to go along this spine here to at least get it defined. If I try to take any kind of, even a small one here, if I try to take this and curve along there, I'm going to be going with the grain, against the grain, with the grain. I can't do a smooth cut there to rough it out without just digging in like crazy. So also, once I get the spine cut, I'm not going to be able to use the clamp anymore, but it's helping me a lot to kind of get these planes down where I want to go. And then when I get a little bit tired of doing it, I go back and finish up with hand tools and smooth it off. And now the other thing is, you notice I don't have a glove on, and that's because, first of all, I'm not really doing carving in earnest here, so I would be wearing it if I was. But also, if I have this clamped down, as I had before, with this clamped down, I can be behind the tool at all times. So as long as my work is in a vise or held down, and this isn't very secure right now, but I have both hands behind the edge here, I feel comfortable carving without any kind of a glove. Okay, once I pick this up, also if I'm using a mallet at all, okay, I've got one hand on the mallet, one hand here, pretty much not going to cut anything as long as I don't try going right into my body with it. Once I pick this up and go with a knife, now I'm going to want to use a blade. As long as I'm holding it and carving away like this, it's not too bad. But once I get into doing anything where my hand is anywhere near it, then I want to have a glove on. So, you know, I don't care how good you are, you should always wear a glove. Anyway, so that's it. I'm going to continue to get this roughed out. I have this this whole leg to do, so quite a bit. And then I have to figure out what I'm going to do about the grain with the leg. I think I'm going to, it's going serpentine this way. I think I'm also going to go a little bit of a serpentine this way, so I'll probably come down and up and down again with that. And this I want to bring up a little bit like that, so this should all come off. I could even do that on the bandsaw right here. So bring the head up a little bit. Might want to have a little arch to it here. I have to look at some pictures and decide where I want this to start to lift up. Okay, so a lot of work to do on this to get these legs down to where I want them to go. Then I'll switch over. I'll start cutting with a knife, I think. I'll probably finish it off with I'm going to sand it all smooth. Okay, that's it for now.